Good night and welcome to Mindful Live 350. I'm your host, Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. I'm actually the co-host. The host was here a bit earlier, but she's on to Dreamland sometime soon. So good night to her. But yes, I am here. Once you're on the inside, make sure you double tap the screen over there on TikTok. Hit the like button. If you are looking at this on YouTube, tap that like button, please do. And you can leave a comment. Tell me what you think. On Facebook also, if you are looking at this, don't be bashful with the like button. Please allow the like button to feel the love, feel appreciated. And that also helps with the algorithm. Yes, and what we are talking about this evening, at least what we begin speaking about this evening, is the bad men get through. Power to the bed. The beds have made it. The service can't tell the bed no, according to the court. But obviously, as with nearly all things, there's a bit more nuance to that. Court rules prison bed policy unconstitutional. Commissioner's legal team also concedes promotion block unreasonable. AT&T prison service policy barring Muslim prison officers from keeping beds has been deemed unconstitutional. Now, as you go through the story, there are some things interesting to me, because it doesn't seem exactly like a policy that was barring it, but a policy that was limiting it. All right. High Court Judge Margaret Mohammed issued the declaration yesterday as she upheld a constitutional lawsuit brought by Arshad Singh. Now, listen. Because we live in a multicultural melting pot such as Trinidad and Tobago, there are people named Muhammad who may be pastors. I am confident there are Muhammads who are pastors. But, I mean, it's kind of interesting that a case about the veracity of the religious claim for growing a beard in Islam goes to a Justice Muhammad. White Leather says he joined the walk knowing the stipulations. Ronnie's Will says good night. Good night, Ronnie. Good night. You missed the host. Here's the thing, White Leather. That's true. But the thing that some people seem not to understand is that whether someone agrees or not, there are still things that would be deemed unconstitutional or illegal. Someone could sign into slavery and nonetheless enslaving someone would be illegal, even if they agreed. Someone can agree to $10 an hour, and if you pay them $10 an hour, they could still decide to sue you and they would win, even though they agreed. So the agreement there, and I do have some points in that category of, but you agree to something, at least stand up to what you agree with. I understand and kind of agree with that point, but I also, good night, Paul Duncan. I also could see the nuance there where there is that legal argument, there is still that constitutional argument, there is still whether this thing stands up to the scrutiny. But I do understand what you say, and I always find it a bit strange when people join something knowing all full and well the total stipulations of the thing, and then halfway through it, they're like, I don't like this anymore. Well, then you shouldn't have joined it. I kind of agree with that. Singh's victory in the case came less than 2 weeks after another High Court judge dismissed a somewhat different case over a similar policy within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We'll get to why that one was dismissed and this one was not. We'll get to that. According to the evidence in the case, Singh admitted that he had previously been allowed to keep a short bed for security reasons, but claimed that he wrote to the prison service seeking permission after it grew longer when he went to perform Hajj in Saudi Arabia. Now, Here's the thing. Greetings, sir. This does not seem like a ban on the beard. This seems more like a policy that was limiting how long you could grow it. And is the religious argument that it must be grown out very long? Singh was due to be promoted to the rank of prison officer 2, but was removed from a promotion ceremony in September 2022 after acting prisons commissioner Dev Prasad Ramuta saw his beard and questioned him about it. Singh filed 2 cases over what transpired and obtained an injunction blocking disciplinary action for his beard until the cases were determined. One case challenged his failed promotion, while the other claimed that the beard policy breached Singh's constitutional right to freedom of conscience, religious belief, and observance. Interesting to me here. Greetings, sir, greetings, greetings. In his constitutional claims, Singh presented the expert evidence of Maulana Abdul Salam of Darul Ulum TNT, who testified that keeping a beard and allowing it to grow is essential for Muslim men. It would have been interesting in this case if the prison's service could have gotten a Muslim expert that said otherwise, because I know as a fact, I have seen some say otherwise. It's a very interesting thing to have the courts kind of deem such things, eh? It's a very interesting thing. Good evening, Dane Khan. That's a very interesting development. And where is the end of that? Rastafarians. Can the Rastafarians now have their dreadlocks in the prison? And what if now, in my sect of Rastafarianism, really goes along the belief that the locks are the mane of the lion, because that's what the locks are supposed to represent in Rastafarianism, the mane of the lion. And lions don't tie up their manes. So, okay, you tell me I could have my ras, but I must have it tied up. But I don't want to tie it up because that's not how the lions roll. Would I have legal right to that expression too? That's an interesting question. And where does it end? Because the Commissioner of Prisons pointed out that it's a policy based on discipline, yes, but also on safety. And that may very well be so. Is a prison officer with an exorbitantly long beard a greater safety risk inside of the prisons? It's like, if I own a factory that has lots of moving parts and gears that are exposed, and let's say people that must have the Rastafarian guy who must have his ras loose, or even someone with a head covering that is hanging, would that person be allowed inside a factory? Or would the factory be discriminating if they ban them? Are there some jobs where even though something is your real religious belief, it kind of precludes you from it? But here's part of the issue here, and one part of the reason that they won this case, and it's kind of the same reason that the short men won in the police service too. It's kind of the same reason. They already have exceptions. Let me see if I could find that. Ramuta admitted, Ramuta is the commissioner, Ramuta admitted that some officers were given exemptions on medical grounds and for security reasons. In her judgment, Justice Mohammed stated that Ramuta's justification for the policy was undermined by the exemptions granted and a lack of evidence to justify it. Similarly with the police service, how could you say that you cannot use police officers under a certain height and most of the females you admit are under that height? How could you create exemptions and then tell someone that they cannot get in because of that condition? How about we go to this pay rise business that the Salary Reviews Commission wants to give to the executive level in our civil service? How could you, as the leadership of the public service, say 4% is all that we can afford to give everyone, and then say that doesn't work for you though? The exception there kind of negates the sense of the rule. If you're saying that all prison officers must be clean shaven and look like XYZ for a reason that is extremely essential, whatever that reason is, it's extremely essential. All right, so then why are there exceptions? Why are there exceptions? If someone has a medical reason they can't do what is necessary, then you do to them similarly like you do to someone with a religious reason, as you're saying. Well, then you can't enter the service. Your medical condition precludes you. Interesting. The exceptions basically cause the entire rule to be dismantled. There may be a lesson inside there. There may be a good lesson inside there. On February 9th, High Court Judge Betsy Ann Lambert Peterson dismissed a lawsuit on the TTPS BEARD policy brought by PC Christian Khan. Any relation to you, Dane? In that case, Justice Lambert Peterson had to consider whether the policy under the police service regulations introduced in 2007 was immune from judicial challenge based on the constitutional savings clause. Under Section 6 of the Constitution, legislation which is found to breach citizens' fundamental rights cannot be challenged if passed before the country's constitution was amended in 1976. That's the interesting things with laws. The interesting thing with law, isn't it? In this case, they basically say, yeah, it may be breaching your fundamental rights, but we have a law that says old laws are allowed to breach your fundamental rights. So, hard luck. Funny stuff, isn't it? Funny stuff. We have a law that says this law could breach your rights, so okay. You just have to take that and smoke it. Hey, talking about take that and smoke it, and us already laughing here. Let's you want to hear the most, well, there seems to be a run of bad lucky bandits, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I don't have pity for them. I'm glad that they have very sour luck. I'm glad for that. But toughen the criminals of late. One where they were in a robbery in Curep, they drove out of their robbery, and it looked like these fellas, and they were fellas from the area, eh? So guys from Curep, St. Joseph, Maracas Valley, all right. Guys from the vicinity. How will this affect police having restricted freedom of speech? Isn't that unconstitutional? Well, the thing is, there's no law before 1976 that says police can't have freedom of speech. So there are several factors that are needed for that to work. It has to be a law that was in the books before 1976. Rawson Warren says that was such a lovely sight to see the police are right behind him. Bro, I smiled. I watched the video and smiled. And these guys, good night, Jackies. These guys look like they thought they planned out a big heist, eh? They thought that they were putting down an Ocean's 11 special. They reversed the X-Trail in, very likely stolen. Kick open that back door. Yeah, running in, running out. Stack it up, fellas. We jump in, we hit that, we hit onto Farm Road, out of there in no time, fellas. One thing you wasn't counting on. The 3.0 diesel turbo. The 3.0 diesel turbo Hiluxes that the police were just gifted. They were recently gifted those, you know. Those are brand new. The mileage isn't even that high. Those fellas were probably itching to hear that turbo whistle. Itching to hear that turbo whistle. And they were literally right behind them. It's unfortunate that two still got away. That's very unfortunate. And I know some people are of the belief that every single bandit caught should be buried. I'm not necessarily of that belief, but 3 were caught, 2 seem to have escaped. But listen to another bit of bad luck criminals here. 3 held with marijuana along Uriah Butler Highway. Very short article. Relax yourself. Very short article. 3 men were arrested and a quantity of marijuana seized by police officers along the Uriah Butler Highway yesterday. Official police reports say officers were performing traffic duties around 9 p.m. on Tuesday along the northbound lane of the Uriah Butler Highway near the Carney Overpass during road paving exercises when they observed a white Toyota Corolla motorcar with 3 male occupants experiencing mechanical problems. When they observed a white Toyota Corolla motorcar with 3 male occupants experiencing mechanical problems, the officers made checks of the vehicle, which resulted in the discovery of 5 packages wrapped in plastic. The packages were found to contain a quantity of marijuana. Rawson Warren says, isn't marijuana legalized? It's either it's legal or illegal. Well, the word they use is not legalized, it's decriminalized, which is kind of the same thing as legalized. If something isn't criminalized, well, then it's kind of legal. But nonetheless, it is very regulated, and there's a limit that you can have. 5 stacks of packages wrapped seems like they may exceed 30 grams. I mean, maybe they were running light and they had just, you know, one little bud or a little leaf or something inside of all of those packages. But I would assume 5 packages would run you a bit above 30 grams. The 3 suspects, ages 22 to 25, of San Fernando and Couva were arrested in connection with the find. Bro, how are you running drugs in a shutting down car? Like, how? You? And drugs have money? You running the people drugs and shutting down on the highway? I read this and I was like, this seems incredible. The most the second most, they're probably second to the bandits who pulled out in front of the police. And the police probably stop, to help them, because if we're being fair and honest, the police on the highway usually stop to help motorists who have little mechanical problems and stuff. They stop, to make sure everything is. Hey fellas, everything okay, fellas? And the fellas done start to get bummy. Yeah, boss, we got in a. Everything all right with the car? Yeah, boss, we good. Yeah, boss, we real good, boss. But how come I'm not driving it, not starting on? Let me see the engine now, man. Boss, we good. No, it's all right, officer. Officer, we real good, boss. Boss, we real. No, officer. And by then, one of the fellas looking to, kind of walk his. He just drifting his way up the shoulder. And the thing is, they on the highway at Caroni. There really isn't much place to run unless you're planning on running in the swamp. So, you start trying to make your way up the shoulder, hoping. What's the next settlement you could reach? If you're at Caroni by the bird sanctuary there, where you hoping to reach? Bamboo? Or you're walking back to Monroe Roadside? Tough luck, fellas. Tough luck. Youth living in culture of violence. These young fellas and young people out here. Education Minister, crime statistics a cause for concern. Between 2015 and 2019, of the 510 people charged with murder, 62% of them were between the ages of 15 and 29, and 96% of them were male. You know what amazes me with this information? This information is true all around the world. And by the end of this entire article, the education minister comes down to basically saying the regular mantra that people in education talk about, education being the solution for crime. So if you want less crime, let's invest and get serious in education. Okay. Let's take that at face value. Let's take that as true. I'm not even debating that right now. I will debate it at some point in time, but let's not debate it right now. Education solves crime because it's only done Sibat are criminals. Okay. You look at the crime statistics, 96% male, the majority, vast majority, young. So if you're trying to stop criminality, your target group would be young males. And yet, every direction I look in the education industry, every single new program that is launched is for women and girls in STEM, and encouraging more women into entrepreneurship. And not that I have a problem with women educating themselves, by all means, sister. Learn your learns. But from a societal point of view, how does that make sense? Jackies? We dry snitching out here? Jackies is dry snitching. We dry snitching out here. Listen, if somebody is master's level finance and deeply embedded in something on the criminal side, I will say that's pretty high up. So you and your ex, you all behave yourselves right there. Right there. But I just find it very interesting, though, that so many people would put forward this idea, education is the solution to crime. And they wouldn't focus more educational opportunities specifically at young boys. Up till last week, I was reading an article. I had it pulled up, but I didn't actually go through it. The MP for Tabakit with something about women and girls in STEM education or something to that effect. More women, girls needed in STEM for Trinidad and Tobago's growth. That was an article by Anita Haynes-Allyn, the MP for Tabaquite. Not me, I X myself out. All right, Jackies, all right. You X yourself out before or after you found out about his other activities? Or were you one of the ride or dies? You are an ROD out here, you know? Sitting shotgun. So what about a little more accountability on the parenting end? Yes, we spoke about that last night, as with one of my suggesting are with these programs if they don't attend after receiving notices. You were a victim. I see, Jackies. And what about that previous sentence you said there? That word you said in the previous sentence. Accountability. Accountability, Jackies. Accountability. A little bit of that. But yeah, if the problem is the young men in criminality, shouldn't we be aiming more things at them? Put them in the army for a short time. No, I don't disagree with all of that. And I was going to say that I agreed with Professor Selwyn Kojo's recommendation that parents be held accountable for their children's actions. I agree with that too. I don't think those things need to be separate. I could believe that, yes, parents should be held accountable. But also, if you are telling me that education is the solution to crime and young men are the main perpetrators of crime, at least violent crime, then shouldn't they be your target audience with education? Something isn't adding up there. Something just doesn't add up when you tell me something like that. I don't see the maths. And this information came from the crime data. Government reveals crime data for last 5 years. 13,800 get bail for serious crimes. A total of 13,800 people were granted bail for serious crimes between 2018 and 2023. National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines revealed this in a written answer to a question asked in the Senate by Independent Senator Dr. Paul Richards on Tuesday. It also have educated people who cannot find a job, so I believe they will still turn to crime. I don't think not finding a job is what makes you into a criminal, really and truly. And I wonder about these statistics also. I wonder about these statistics that they quote here also. Is it that 13,800 people, as they say it, were granted bail, or is it that we had 13,800 cases of bail being granted? And some of that 13,800 may have actually been repeat offenders getting bail a second time. Because it looks to me like they counted up all of the charges given bail in a given year and then counted up all of the years and gave us that number. That's not the same thing as all of those being individual people, because we very well know that many of those are repeat offenders. There are people getting bail twice in a year. So how much of that 13,800 are individuals? And then if you break it down like that, let's say it's something like 10,000 individuals. That is exactly why El Salvador could have cleaned themselves up, and Ecuador is in the process of cleaning themselves up too. Because in most cases, in most countries and societies, It's not the vast majority of people that are at the forefront of criminality. It's usually a pretty tiny minority. If it was possible somehow to take the 10,000 major repeat offenders there, put them somewhere they cannot escape and cannot leave, that alone might see Trinidad's crime situation dip. But unfortunately, we can't seem to do that. And when we put them in places where supposedly they can't escape, they could get calls and WhatsApp videos and WhatsApp chats out. That's interesting to me. Exactly, shots being sanctioned from Yep. But on the note of the judicial system and how the judicial system functions or doesn't function, allowing more and more people to just become criminals and more people to suffer. Gregory Selby says everybody deserves a second chance in life. I don't know how people feel so bold using the word deserve. I don't know how people could be so bold in using the term deserve. Education is the main factor. Education is not the main factor. I spoke about that and I said I wasn't debating it at that point in time. But the reality is, education is not the main factor in crime. The reason someone becomes a criminal is not because they don't see. Don't see people aren't more criminal. It's not a matter of dunce makes you a criminal. Poverty is the main factor. No, poverty is not the main factor either. Because in the West, as poverty went down, absolute poverty went down, criminality went up. You ask what country is this? So I suppose you're not from this country. You could go check in the United States. During the Great Depression, criminality dipped while poverty increased. It is not directly correlational where as poverty increases, crime increases. That's not true. That's not true. The only thing everyone deserves is a kiss cake. I don't even know if you deserve that. That's why the idea of deserve is such a strange thing to me. What do you mean when you say deserve? What do you mean by that? Like, when someone says deserve, what is the idea that they are trying to communicate? That this is something that you must get? Explain that to me. What do you mean when you say deserve? Who decides who deserves? Exactly. You deserve something. Something is supposed to be given. And here's the other part of it. As you said, who decides who deserves? Who gives the person who deserves? Like, okay, deserves mean I am supposed to get something. Who gives it to you in life? Where do you get it from? Like, what are we talking about? Deserve. Kiss making company. I don't know about that deserve. All right. Shoguana's man challenges 3-year delay in DUI case. Ishigona's man, who was held for allegedly driving under the influence, has filed a novel lawsuit which seeks to challenge the delay in the magistrate's court. Stephen Hearn wants the High Court to give guidance on the application of the criminal procedure rules as it relates to the allotment of resources to cases and repeated adjournments. Hearn's trial before Justice Rihanna Ali has since been stayed pending the High Court's decision on his judicial review claim. Presiding over the matter in the High Court is one Justice Frank C. Prasad, of course. In his lawsuit, Hearn says the magistrate was wrong to grant the prosecution's request for an adjournment of his trial on October 6, 2023. He is asking for several declarations. His lawyers Lee Mary and Kelston Pope have argued that the magistrate acted illegally by adjourning his trial because she failed to take into account that the CPR was designed to bring more discipline to the criminal trial process by effectively managing the pre-trial and trial processes so that the laissez-faire approach to criminal litigation of the past is no longer tolerated. Listen to the story. Because they have a saying, justice delayed is justice denied. Correct. Hearn was charged with the summary offense in July 2020. He said he appeared several times before the magistrate, and up until the date of the trial, the prosecution failed to provide disclosures to his attorneys. The matter was repeatedly adjourned for the police to comply with the court's order. A trial date was set to October 6th, but when the matter was called, two of the police witnesses were not in attendance, leading to an adjournment to March 2024. The man is charged in 2020. Every time he goes to court, the prosecution says, we aren't ready, the police aren't ready, the police not here, the witnesses not here, the witnesses didn't come today, and the case just keeps being adjourned. Every time this man has to pay his lawyer, every time this man has to leave his job, every time this man has to take a day off, every time he has to go through the stress, that is insanity. Hearn argues the magistrate failed to take into account the need for expedition in the prosecution of criminal matters, particularly summary matters, as the delay brings the law into disrepute. He's asking that the charge against him be dismissed and to be compensated for his attorney's fees. I am instructed by my attorneys that the magistrate's court is in crisis in terms of the number of matters that need to be heard and determined in any given court, and that the culture of adjournments is largely responsible for this crisis. Well, that's what he's saying there, Orson Warren. This is a common practice. The officers, never the any magistrate, just adjourn the case. This is sticking up the system. There are a million cases pending. Why? Because every case cannot be finished. They must always be adjourned. So every day, 100 cases pass through. 95 of them are adjourned. So if every day 100 cases pass through and you're adjourning 95 every day, you do understand by tomorrow you would have the new 100 plus the 95 you adjourned previously. By the next day, another new 100 plus the 95 and the other 95. You're compounding that increase. And the thing with this, the way how this is so cruel and evil on a country's part. Something like this punishes the people who are by and large law abiding and end up getting mixed up in the system. I feel these judges do this to stay relevant because why? Well, it's not just the judge's fault. It's a lot to do with the police. If the police aren't there to give the evidence, the judges adjourn. And bear in mind, judges have to work with the police. So they work with the police and the prosecution. They aren't looking to offend anyone necessarily. They don't want to per se ruffle any feathers. And if you ruffle feathers as a judge, you might end up like Justice Frank C. Prasad. Remember, he has the threats on his life, and the latest commissioner removed his security detail. Yeah, you don't necessarily want to make enemies of them. So it's not necessarily the judges themselves who do that. But yeah, things like this, it's so insidious because people who are generally law-abiding citizens and get themselves tangled up in the legal systems, they are the ones who are tortured the most by this. Because they are basically innocent. You're just trying to get your case finished to show everyone, hey, this wasn't really the scene. While for the criminals, this works out perfectly. Because my case is never called. I am still on the outside doing my thing while y'all play the fool and adjourn it every week. If the police don't appear after 2 different times, dismiss the matter, no evidence. I may agree with that, but if cop can't force them to wear body cam, she def can't force them to go to court. You're speaking the things, White Leather. You're speaking the things. And isn't that the same thing that one retired superintendent, Johnny Abraham, was alleging? That there lacks leadership at the top of the police service? Ronnie, I believe that the judge has the decision. The judge could make that call. So it's interesting to me that the judges don't. They are all on the same team, so why should they care? That's the thing, eh? You're hoping that they would be on your team. That's the hope and the idea. They're supposed to be on our team. We are all supposed to be on the same team. Unfortunately, there's a they. And we aren't in that they. Alright, people. I had a long day today. And I think I'm going to make a dive out. A quick dive out here. A quick dive out. That's all I have for now. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. Yes, we're talking tomorrow. Tomorrow we meet and we talk. We talk. That's what we do on Thursday. We talk. Be mindful, not mindless. Have a good night, everyone. Hold it on. Stay well. Stay safe. Be well. I'm just coming to tell all your oil reaching the dating. Oh, gosh. Let me leave that there. Tomorrow, people. Peace out. I'm out. Bye.